Thank you so very much for being back. This is Enterprise the Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. At the 2025 annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank in Washington, D.C., Nigeria received both praise and caution from global financial institutions. The IMF commended the country's ongoing reforms such as exchange rate unification, subsidy removal, and fiscal coordination, raising Nigeria's 2025 growth forecast to 3.9%. Due to stronger fundamentals, improved oil output, and investor optimism. However, the fund warned that fiscal fragility, high debt services, and volatile oil revenues could undermine recovery if not carefully managed. IMF officials stressed the need for consistency in policy implementation, enhanced revenue mobilization, and prudent debt management to sustain progress and prevent a reversal of the recent economic gains. Central Bank Governor Olayemi Cardoso assured investors that Nigeria remains committed to its reform path, noting significant improvements such as falling inflation, Naira stability, and stronger foreign reserves. He said fiscal and monetary discipline were beginning to restore confidence and rebalance the public finances. Still, the IMF cautioned that Nigeria's rising fiscal deficit and debt cost continue to constrain development, spending urgent greater efficiency, digitalized tax system, and diversification away from oil dependence. Let's get talking. I still have Emeka Madunagu. Emeka, what's your take on this? You know, the Western institutions, they know how to make us feel good whilst we are in their terrain. They make us feel awesome. They keep us very comfortable, knowing that we have money to spend on their system. But once we leave that part or we leave that off, they go back to spending their dooms and all. Speak to me. Do you think what's coming from IMF at this point really should hold waters in any way?
Yeah, well, the IMF has told us that they've told us what we need to do. I mean, if you have to follow the prescriptions of the IMF, you must make sure that you follow them to the letter. Otherwise, you will just be kidding. I tell you what, if you take the medium-term expenditure framework of the federal of the Tinubu administration, 2025 to I think 2027, I think somewhere is it page 50 or somewhere. It says that the framework was based on material sourced from an IMF document. It's there. Let's go through it, you will see it. So what it just tells you is that this administration lacks original ideas about how to run the economy. So basically they're just all their policies, their economic policies are just as handed down by the IMF. And that doesn't speak well because they campaigned. They put things in their manifesto which they said they were going to do. They never said in their manifesto or never at any point, during his campaigns, Tinubu tell Nigerians that IMF would be his chief economic advisor. He never said so. So to now come in and say that, okay, you are going to continue with the policies of late President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, Buhari wasn't following the IMF strictly. The IMF asked him to remove subsidy. He didn't. The IMF asked him to do certain things. He didn't. Even though in 2020 he took $3.4 billion special drawing rights from the IMF, but he didn't. But honestly, where Buhari missed it was when he took $50 billion from CBN through Ways and Means in 2021. That was equivalent to 23 trillion naira then, and which was a disaster. It really hit the economy very hard and sent inflation spiraling. So what we've got to do is that we need fiscal discipline. We need a realignment of priorities. A lot of things that this administration is doing are not priorities. Some of the road projects and all of that are not priorities because These are things you cannot rush. For instance, Lagos Calabar Highway, 15 trillion naira. It's not what you just dump on a project, within a few years. 15 trillion naira and do your roads, your internal roads. Let the existing federal roads be fixed. When they are well fixed, then you expand the railway, the rail infrastructure. Fix the Port Harcourt to, Maiduguri, Port Harcourt, Aba, Enugu, Maiduguri railway. Then you can take a point from the railway from Itakpe to Warri. You can, where it crosses over Benin Asaba Expressway. You can just take a point from there, and do a junction and let it face Asaba. You get to Asaba, you can find a way to take it across to Onitsha or to Guta. To Guta. You can do. There are many things government can do. Let me tell you. I was watching a video this morning. Somebody was talking about railways. Now look, all over the world, the railways are not a profitable business venture. That is why you see that governments are the major investors in railway, because government in a way can subsidize rail transportation. At least let that be part of the social benefits to the citizens. So when you look at all of that, and then you now take 15 trillion, imagine putting 15 trillion into railway. It will do a lot. It will do a lot. It will remove a lot of pressure from the roads. It will rework the logistics, transportation, human transportation, and all of that in Nigeria. But we've got to realign our priorities. Now you've cleared the debts of airlines. But again, what about the foreign investors who left? You are looking for foreign investors. But what about the ones who left? The Procter & Gamble's and the rest of them. GlaxoSmithKline. Why GlaxoSmithKline? Why haven't you made efforts to get them to come back? Their major problem was inability to repatriate their profits. Fine, why not work on that instead of wasting money looking for new foreign investors who will come and see the same problems and run away after a few years? Why not clear the roadblock? And it's very simple. Realign your priorities. Very simple. One of the realignments should be, fiscal policies geared towards creating jobs. Jobs at different levels, at the macro, nano, micro, medium, and macro levels. What you call MSMEs. Create jobs at different levels. Give incentives, at single digits. Financial incentives, loans, credit to young entrepreneurs, so at a single digit interest rate. Now, you're looking at bringing down inflation, but interest rates are still high because of your excessive borrowing from the domestic market. Now, you've not been able to significantly bring down interest rates because you're still servicing treasury bills. So you still have to make your portfolio investment sector, attractive. And you keep boasting about it without looking at the deleterious effects. So the thing is this, they must be sincere with themselves. They've got to tell themselves the truth. And the only way we can get, like the World Bank says that 139 million Nigerians are living below the poverty line. The only way they can get out of that is to be honest with themselves. The only way they can get out of it is to get Nigerians working, get Nigerians productive, and remove this entitlement mentality that government has to do everything for us. Because that's the problem. That's one major problem. We have this, this street lingo they call, now where man they walk, now they chop, and so you see a lot of corruption. You see a lot of inefficiency. You see Nigeria, you employ people, and the next thing they're thinking of is how to steal from you. That will not build an economy. But when you give people the idea that they can make money without working, a lot will be thinking of cyber fraud. Instead of thinking of cyber skills that can build the economy, they were thinking of cyber fraud. Because, they are giving the idea that, if you can manipulate people online, you can make money, So, those are the things we need to realign so that Nigerians can get working, You can take one, instead of lying to yourself that you lifted 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, and then you rebased the GDP. But even at that, you have not been able to bring down inflation to single-digit rates. Why? Because you keep lying to yourself. Face the honest truth. Face the honest truth. There are a lot of things you can make in Nigeria if power supply is stable. There are a lot of things we are going to China and all these countries to import that we can do here. Because if you look at it relative to the exchange rate, labor, if you value our labor here, it's more cheaper than in China because of the exchange rate. But if you fix power, if you fix the roads, if you remove the thugs in uniform, you know, the different thugs, security agencies, the local governments and all of that, remove them from the roads. After all, Nigeria signed an ECOWAS protocol of free movement across the sub-region. How come we don't have free movement within Nigeria? You must pay and pay and pay at every checkpoint. Why? That is hypocrisy. That should be the first thing. That should have been the first thing. You scrap all the roadblocks. Remove them. Let security agents be patrolling the road. They don't have to mount roadblocks. Because those roadblocks are an impediment to, you know, they're an impediment to economic development. You go to the offices of a road safety, you see vehicles parked with perishable goods. Perishable items. Why did you allow them to leave the market to even get into the road? Now, maybe they've left, they traveled over more than 200 kilometers, maybe to get to Lagos. And then you just impound them somewhere. And the goods, the items, they are perishable. So this attitude has to change. The ease of doing business is perilous in Nigeria. So we must change our priorities. We must be more serious about production, power supply. We must deal with insecurity. We cannot pretend. You know, people have been, some others have been saying that everything is okay, everything is okay. They owe Nigerians an apology. Why did the president change the service chiefs? Because they threw out, you know, a spin that there was a coup plot, so that, you know, you could now justify change of service chiefs. Because how could you explain to Nigerians that your choice of service chiefs was a big disaster? That you had failed woefully. You had failed to secure the country. You had failed woefully. So you now have to look for a spin and all of that. We are not impressed by all those things, but we saw those things under Babangida, under Abacha. We saw those things under Obasanjo, under Buhari. Every time, you know, they're just talking of coup and coup and coup. We saw all those distractions. We need to get to work. Nigerians must be brought on board as stakeholders in whatever you are doing. Explain it to Nigerians. Get their buy-in. Then you will succeed. Not a situation whereby you put solar street lights, you run solar street lights through a road, and by the next morning, you know, I mean, people have vandalized them. You do roads and people are digging the roads, you know, digging across the roads to lay pipes, to lay cables. All of those things, you know, show that the people don't have a buy-in into your projects. It shows they don't care. But when you make them critical stakeholders, you will not want to destroy what you value, what you invested effort and time in building. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Emeka. We can't overstate some of these facts. Someone once said that Nigeria, amongst other African countries, is one country that is easiest to govern. The Nigerians, if the things happening in the Arab phase of Africa, that's the northern part of Africa, is happening in Nigeria, that Nigerians would not have complained. But here we are, despite all of this desire to be peaceful, be patient, our leaders unfortunately take us for granted. Of course, that is not a reason for us to do what we should not do. But I think at the same time, our leaders should really, you know, up their skills and ensure that they govern well for the benefit of Nigerians, not just at home, for those in the diaspora who earnestly desire to come back home. That's our take for today. Thank you so very much, Emeka. I truly do appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, people, that's about time. We'll leave. We need to go. Please do well to follow us. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Kwibike. Have yourself a splendid weekend. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.